Sorry about the bad lighting and the bad focus. I'll try to read whatever I'm talking about on screen. But yeah, in general, this video is going to be about PfSense. This is the install at my sister's house that I've showed before, the physical version. But now I'm going to show the interface for it, at least for the dashboard and that kind of stuff. I'm going to actually, this might be a very long video, so hold on to your seats. I'm going to go through a lot of the services I run and why I do things. Also, if you plan on running a jail on, I'm not going to talk about jail, but if you're running ZFS on your PfSense, I'll kind of show some things I've learned and some things that might be helpful for you. Also, if you just running hard drives on on PfSense, this video is for you because I'll show later on some cron jobs you want to be running regularly. Okay, so number one is services that we'll talk about is, I'll go through all of these. This is the dashboard, by the way, of PfSense that you get by default. You can see right here, I have G.M.A.R.T status. I added this widget, and what it does is it looks at these two disks and shows that my G.M.A.R.T is complete. So basically, it shows that these two disks are in there and they are mirrored to each other. So basically, if I lose one of these disks, the operating system is completely fine. I have my operating system running on a mirror, and when you install PfSense, if you have two disks in there, it will ask you if you want to do it on a mirror, and you can just set that up. And I didn't have to really read any tutorials or anything. I just did it, and it worked. So for the most part, you can kind of do it, and it's at the beginning of your install. So if you screw up, you can just keep trying again. So yeah, this is one way you can monitor it, because it does not email you. Even if you set up your email in PfSense, it will not email you if one of these fails, because one of these failed on me. The drive somehow lost power, and I had to reboot the machine and then reconnect power. And this was in a not failed or degraded state. I had to disconnect it and reconnect it, through G.M.A.R.T or GOM commands. I forgot, GEOM. But anyway, yeah, you can just Google stuff if you need questions. Okay, I'll talk about the services. Number one, cron. If you've done anything with Linux or FreeBSD, you know what cron is. It just does tasks at specific times. I'll show a bunch of cron jobs in the future later on in this video. DHCP, that is to basically tell anything that connects to your network if it can get an IP, and based on the MAC address, and it'll give it a host name and whatever. You basically usually run this on your router for the most part. DNS mask, this is your DNS server, so this is what translates IPs to or host names to IPs. Most routers will just forward stuff. I just forward it to Google's, actually. I don't use my ISPs. Well, my sister's network doesn't use their ISPs. She just forwards to Google's. For the most part, they're better results. They're faster, and they won't hijack stuff. But I also do some tricks with that I'll show later on for ad blocking. I've showed it before, but I'll show exactly what I do. Mini UPnP. With UPnP, I'm not going to show this much, but if you do enable this, it's fine on PfSense, but on like a regular router, you want to be careful. If you're not running DDWRT or a later version of a router, UPnP has had known vulnerabilities recently that haven't been patched on most routers. So for the most part, you want to disable service. It will mess up your Skype calls, and your gaming might be a little bit lower if you don't have this enabled, but they could get into your network using this. So you want to probably just get a newer router or update your UPnP somehow. So either get a newer version of DDWRT on your router, or upgrade your old router that doesn't run DDWRT. Yeah. NTP, this is to connect to network time protocol servers. So basically what I do is PfSense can act as a network time protocol server. So what it does is it connects to other ones which have the time. So it by default has one set up, and then you can have servers in your network connect to its IP and just get the time. So all of your servers on your network will be synced up. So all you do is, on the service, you tell it what who you allow to get the time from it, and then also in the general settings for PfSense, you can say which one to use. But by default, it has one set up. So basically, if you have servers that connect to each other and do certain tasks, they'll have their time synced up, so you wouldn't have problems with that. Not network UPS tool. This is for your battery backup. I have one set up, hooked up to this directly with USB, and I'll show that real quick too. Squid. This is a proxy server. So this is basically any HTTP stuff that's on the network, or any HTTP. What is it called? Yeah, well, anybody who's connecting to a website is gonna go through the Squid server. If they're by default just going to port 80, and it'll go through here and it will cache stuff. And I have it. You can set a cache location and then how much you want it to cache. So it can speed up stuff and lower your bandwidth usage. Varnish. This is if you're running servers. I'm not going to show this because in general you don't want to be running this at your home network. So I'm gonna for the most part show home stuff and some other stuff. Gateways. This is kind of cool. You can show your WAN. You can see I have 0% loss right now. 12 millisecond ping to I don't know what that connects to. I guess to level 1 or something. And then this is your interfaces. I have one interface, my WAN, which is connected to the modem. I have my LAN, which is one other interface, and another interface. This one connects to the my DDWRT wireless access point. And then here's some the 2 XBMC systems I have in the house. OpenELEC is the operating system they're running, and I set it up so I can wake them up if I need to from here. Most of the time they're off, but I guess they're both on because maybe someone's watching something. And then here's a cool thing you can have on here. This is by default it's on here. It shows CPU usage, memory. You can see memory is like pretty high, and I have 8 gigs of RAM in here, and it's pretty highly used. And that's because part of it is Squid, but actually most of it is whenever someone streams a file in the house, it actually I'm running ZFS on here, and it'll actually cache it, and you'll see the memory usage spike, which is good because if someone goes back and then restreams part of that video, it's barely hitting the disk then because it's just pulling it from memory. So it's pretty good. Swap usage 0. You shouldn't be using swap for the most part if you have enough memory. Disk usage 4%. You barely use the disk here. All my data is on a 3 terabyte hard drives. I've shown in a previous video. So let me go through some of these services. I'll start with cron. Okay, cron. Sorry, my voice is hurting. I might be a little bit sick. So here are the ones I added. Actually, I added all of these ones. So I added a update host.sh, which is a script I wrote, ZFS snapshotting, ZFS scrubbing, and then a bunch of smart things. So I'm going to go through these. I'm kind of trying to zoom in and let you guys actually read the commands, because this might be important if you care about this. So number 1, I'll skip the first one actually. Number 1, ZFS snapshot. This is one thing I do. ZFS snapshot, the data set, which is media at, and then I put auto so that if I do another snapshot later and don't put auto, it knows which ones are the auto ones. And then I do dash, and then I do this little, I forgot what that thing's called, and I do the date command. And what this does is it writes the date with year in front, and then month, and then day. And the good thing about that is it does things in chronological order. So if you order things by date, it's going to be exact chronological. Unlike if you do things by, like a common way to do it is you say like April 1st, 2013. That's month, day, year. And if you did that in numbers, it actually wouldn't be chronological. So here I'm doing year, month, day, so it's going to be exactly chronological. And that's the way you want to do it. Now you'll notice that I do have these backslashes, and that's key because that's commenting out these things. Because when this goes into a cron file, I was noticing these commands weren't being run, and that's because cron files can't take these things without being commented out. So you have to do a backslash before you do these, I think, % symbols. Yeah, so you can see there. This will do a snapshot this right here is Monday at 2 minutes after midnight. So every Monday, 2 minutes after midnight, I take a snapshot of my data set. Now there's another command that I wrote, and it's pretty useful. So I suggest you guys use it if you're doing the same thing. So what this does is I'm going to go through it. Well, overall, at a higher level, what it does is it deletes snapshots. So this one takes snapshots, but eventually you want to delete them because it has, after a month, if you deleted something, you want it to eventually go away and not use space on your ZFS disks. So what this does is it actually destroys it, or it deletes that snapshot. So what I do is I first ZFS list -t snapshot -o name. So what that does, this is just an option. So what this does is it lists all the snapshots, and it only lists the name. Right? So it'll list them like this: tank -media at auto. It'll list all of them. So it'll list some that don't say auto, but all the auto ones will be listed as well. And then -o name will only list that, because otherwise it'll list other stuff like how much space it uses. I don't care about any of that. So I just needed the name, and then I pipe that. So this up and down symbol is a pipe, and what that does, this vertical line, It's right above backslash. So if you hold shift and press backslash, it does a pipe. And what that does in Linux or Unix is it does the output of this command becomes the input of this command. So by doing this and piping it, it goes into this command now. So I take the output of this command, which will list all the snapshots, and I grep it, which does, it looks through each line and it finds anything that matches whatever's here. So it finds anything that matches tank / media at auto dash. So anything that is containing this, and it can't be like something tank, so it can't be like S tank, like stank / media, because I put this caret here. This kind of like if you did like 2 to the power of 4, you would do 2 and then you do a little caret and the 4. In like some calculators you'll do that. This caret, what that means is it's the beginning of the phrase. So it'll only look for things that start with tank / media at auto dash. So it'll only list the ones that I did automatically, right? And then what it does, so then I pipe that to sort -r. So what that does is it reverses the order. Because what it'll do is it'll list them in the order that they were taken. And I want to order that exactly by the name. So it orders them by the name, but in backwards order. So it'll list all of the... normally it goes older to newer. So it'll list newer to older, right? So the newest ones will be on top. And the older ones will be on bottom. And then I pipe that to sed 1, 3D. So what that does is it deletes the first to the third. So it deletes the first to the third of that list. So you could have a list of 100 of them. It'll delete the first 3. So now you only have a list of number 4 through 100. So you'll have a list of 97 total entries, right? And then what it does is those lists go into this xarg. So what xarg does is you have whatever input is in xarg, which is the output of sed, obviously. Whatever input is here is put into the command you put. And by doing -L1, it does for each line you send it, because I could send it multiple lines. Each line will become a separate output, because otherwise it'll send it all as one big blob, which isn't useful for xarg unless there's only a single line, because like the second line won't be parsed correctly. So you want each line to be ran into this command separately. So the command I'm running is ZFS destroy. So I'm doing ZFS destroy to any line that isn't the first 3 after they're reverse ordered from the list of snapshots that matches this exact phrase. So you want to so basically what this does, it's in a single line that takes a list of your snapshots, only keeps the latest 3. If you want to keep more, you can change this, right? So, and I run that 5 minutes after midnight every Monday. So on Monday I take a snapshot and then I keep the last 3. So I'm keeping the one that was just taken. I'm keeping the one 1 week old, the one 2 weeks old, and anything older than 2 weeks is deleted, right? Any snapshots. The files could be, infinitely old, but I'm only keeping. So if I deleted a file, it's going to actually stay there, and I could always restore it with a snapshot, right? I can CD into the snapshot and restore those files individually, or I can restore the whole snapshot or do whatever I want. Okay, and then here's another command to run. Also on Monday at 3:05 p.m. because I want to make sure most people are asleep. Because what this does is it scrubs the tank, so it reads every single used block on ZFS, and it checks the checksum, and if it matches the checksums it has saved for them, then it keeps it. If it doesn't, then it tries to find a redundant copy and fixes all the errors. And if it can't, then it will say that block as an error, and it'll say the file is corrupt, which you can ignore and just say, if the file still works, then who cares if it's corrupt. Like for a video file, if one little bit out of 10 gigs is corrupt, the video is still going to work. It's not terrible. But I do it anyway once a week just because, I don't want stuff to go corrupt. This is the only file system that does this currently. I think ButterFS might do this in the future. Yeah, I don't know how long a video I can upload on YouTube, but I'm already at 14 minutes. So I'm probably going to cut it after a little bit, and then I'll do a second video right after. I'm going to finish cron, and then I'll cut it probably like around 20 minutes or less. Okay, this next command I run every day, the 1st through the 7th, so the first week of the month, the 1st through the 7th, 3:05 a.m. And what I do is I then run this command. I say, I do the date, and what this does is remember you have to do backslash before any % symbols when you put it into a cron job, right? And this will output the day, and it'll say like on Monday it'll output Monday, on Tuesday it'll output Tuesday, and if this, and then basically it says if the date output equals Tuesday, then this command is a yes. If it's not, it's a no. If it's a yes, oh crap, I just did something. Okay. Oh, I clicked the edit. Let me go back. Sorry. If this is a yes, then this these double ampersand symbols will mean that run the next command. So that's what that does in Linux or Unix. If you only have a single and, it just means it kind of like splits the thread. So even if it fails, go on to the next thing. But if I have double, that means only if this first command is outputs a 0, then go into this next. 0 means everything ran correctly. Anything other than 0, like 1 or 2, means it didn't run correctly. So if on Tuesdays, the first of the month, so this is how you can run something in cron only on the first Tuesday of the month, which you normally can't do, right? So first Tuesday of the month, this would be the second Tuesday of the month. This will be the first Wednesday of the month. So what I do is on the first Tuesday of the month, I run a long SMART test, so a smart control -T long on this disk, AD4, right? So SMART is a tool to check your hard drives, and even SSDs it's helpful. And what it does is it reads every single block on the long test, reads every single block on the hard drive or the SSD, and it finds data errors if it can't pull the data. It doesn't find corruption like ZFS in the same way. It's more on a hardware level. So it'll find if a block is like unreadable, and it'll say, oh, I can't read this block anymore. It'll either try to fix it, or it'll say, screw it, I'm gonna remap this. So on a hard drive, that'll remap it somewhere else, and actually will lower your speed of your hard drive, but it'll keep your hard drive from erroring randomly. On an SSD, it doesn't matter because a latency isn't an issue going from one part of this to the other. So so this is a command you want to run every once in a while if you have hard disks on cron. And doesn't matter, PfSense, whatever, this is something you want to run. Now, so I'm running the long tests, which I've heard are more useful than the short tests. I heard the short tests aren't that useful, but they also don't strain your disk as much, so some people run the short tests every day. What I do is I run these once a month on each disk. I run the long test, which takes a couple hours, depending on how big the disk is and how slow it is. Okay, so I run it on these are the two laptop hard drives, 84 and 86. And then every Wednesday, as you can see with the command, I run the long test on each of the 3 terabyte hard drives. And these are green drives. These take a while to do because they're 3 terabytes and they're greens. But they're still fairly fast, actually, because they're the bigger kind. So, bam, these 3. These are Western Digital 3 terabyte greens. So I run those long tests. Now here's the short test. And you can see here, I do this just every week on 4, which is Monday would be 1, so Thursday is 4. So every Thursday I run at 3:05 a.m. I run a short test, which takes like 5 minutes on each of the laptop hard drives, which is what the OS is written on. Cool thing about SMART is you can run it while the operating system is running. It just it might slow down things, or actually it puts it at a very low priority, so the test might take longer if you're doing other things on the hard drive. And I wouldn't recommend doing it like when other people are like streaming movies. In general, just do it, as late as you can or as early as you can, depending on when people sleep. And you can see here I only use a single ampersand symbol. That means even if this one fails, so if some reasons like this disk doesn't exist, it'll still go on to the second command, right? It splits them into separate threads, I believe. This is the same thing, but I run it on all 3 disks, and this is every Friday at 3. Okay, so that's basically all my SMART and my ZFS stuff. We're at almost 20 minutes, so that's it for now. I'm gonna make another video and get a drink of water and show some of the other stuff on PfSense that you might want to learn. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.